The sea explodes. White columns, 80 feet high. A fairy swordfish, canvas and struts held together by rivets and hope, skims 50 feet above the North Atlantic swells. Inside, 21-year-old Sub-Lieutenant John Muffet can barely see through the rain hammering his goggles. Behind him, observer Dusty Miller grips his navigation board. Below them, firing everything, the Bismarck. May 26, 1941, 9:05 p.m. This is the 11th hour. Bismarck, 50,000 tons of German engineering, 8 15-inch guns, 320 millimeters of Krupp steel, is 18 hours from reaching Luftwaffe air cover off the coast of occupied France. If she makes it, the Atlantic convoys feeding Britain will face a predator they cannot stop. 2 days ago, she erased HMS Hood from existence in under 3 minutes. 1,415 men, 3 survivors. The Royal Navy has thrown everything at her: battleships, cruisers, destroyers. Nothing has worked. Muffet's Swordfish is one of 15 obsolete biplanes launched from HMS Ark Royal in a Force 9 gale. Maximum speed, 140 miles per hour. The Bismarck's anti-aircraft guns can fire 500 rounds per minute. The math is simple. The math is brutal. "Steady," Miller calls through the intercom. Bismarck turns hard to port. Her rudder, twin assemblies, each massive, bites into the Atlantic. Muffet adjusts. The Swordfish bucks in the gale. His torpedo weighs 1,610 pounds. Mark 12, 18 inches. He has to release at exactly 18 feet altitude, exactly 1,000 yards from target, exactly the right angle. 1 shot. The ship's flak creates a wall of steel fragments. Tracers arc through the rain like furious fireflies. Muffet's hands are cramping on the stick. He drops. Stay with this story. What happens in the next 9 seconds will change the war. Rewind to May 18, 1941. Admiral Gunther Lütjens addresses Bismarck's crew over the loudspeaker system. The day we have longed for has arrived, the moment we can lead our proud ship towards the enemy. His voice echoes through compartments housing 2,200 men. Operation Rheinübung, Rhine exercise. The name sounds academic. The reality is predatory. Bismarck is the most powerful battleship afloat. 50,300 tons fully loaded. 823 feet of welded Krupp steel. Her main battery, 8 38-centimeter SK C-34 guns, can hurl 1,700-pound shells 23.6 miles. Her armor belt is 12.6 inches thick. During trials, she survived simulated hits from 16-inch shells without penetration. She was never supposed to lose. But there's a flaw. During Baltic Sea trials in early 1941, engineers discovered something troubling. Bismarck cannot steer effectively using propeller revolutions alone. The 3-shaft arrangement provides minimal turning ability, even at maximum differential power. If anything happens to the rudders, the ship becomes nearly uncontrollable. The report was filed. The problem was noted. There was no time to fix it before deployment. Vice Admiral Lancelot Holland, commanding HMS Hood, doesn't know this. What he knows? British convoys are hemorrhaging. U-boats sink 500,000 tons of Allied shipping monthly. If Bismarck reaches the Atlantic hunting grounds, those numbers will explode. May 24, Denmark Strait. Hood and battleship HMS Prince of Wales intercept. The engagement lasts 14 minutes. Bismarck's 5th salvo, fired at 14,000 yards, penetrates Hood's inadequate deck armor. The shell reaches the aft magazines. 100 tons of cordite and shells detonate simultaneously. The explosion breaks Hood's spine. She sinks bow first in 3 minutes. 1,415 dead. 3 survivors. Britain's pride erased. Churchill issues one order: sink the Bismarck. Ferry Aviation Company, Hamble, Hampshire, 1933. The design on paper looks ridiculous, a biplane torpedo bomber when monoplanes are already obsolete. Chief designer Marcel Lobel knows it. The Air Ministry knows it. But fabric stretched over metal tube frames is cheap, repairable, and, crucially, slow enough for accurate torpedo drops. The TSR-1 prototype flies April 17, 1934. Torpedo, spotter, reconnaissance. It waddles into the air like an arthritic duck. Test pilots call it the string bag, not for its struts, but because, like a housewife's shopping bag, it can carry anything: torpedoes, mines, depth charges, rockets, bombs. The name sticks. Workshop floors at Sherburne and Elmet smell of hot oil and sawdust. Workers hand-stitch Irish linen fabric onto metal frames, then paint it with cellulose acetate dope that shrinks drum-tight as it dries. The Bristol Pegasus engine, a 9-cylinder radial producing 750 horsepower, bolts to the front. Maximum speed in testing, 139 miles per hour. Engineers wrestle with the torpedo delivery problem. The weapon must enter water at exactly 18 feet altitude. Too high, it porpoises or breaks apart. Too low, the aircraft risks propeller strike. The torpedo needs 300 yards after water entry just to stabilize and arm. Ideal release distance, 1,000 yards from target. 1,000 yards. Within range of every defensive weapon the target possesses. Early field tests in 1936 reveal another problem. Magnetic torpedo detonators fail catastrophically. During a practice attack on HMS Sheffield in May 1941, swordfish torpedoes explode prematurely on contact with water. The entire first wave, 15 aircraft, accomplishes nothing. Ordnance crews scramble, swapping magnetic pistols for reliable contact detonators. The second wave launches at 1910. By then, Bismarck has been spotted 300 miles from safety. The string bag's moment has arrived. May 24, 1941, 005 hours. HMS Victorious launches the Swordfish's combat debut against Bismarck. 9 aircraft, fabric wings shredding in 40-knot winds. Lieutenant Commander Eugene Esmond leads them through darkness broken only by Bismarck's muzzle flashes. The German battleship fires her main battery, 15-inch guns, at biplanes. The blast concussion alone could rip fabric from frames. One torpedo hits Bismarck's starboard beam. The crew feels the impact through steel decks. Nothing. The Mark 12 torpedo detonates against Bismarck's torpedo protection system, an intricate arrangement of void spaces and longitudinal bulkheads specifically designed to absorb underwater explosions. Minor flooding, no critical damage. Bismarck maintains 28 knots. Admiral Lutzen signals Berlin, 1 torpedo hit, no reduction in fighting capability. In Victorious's ready room, Esmond's crews are devastated. They flew through hell. They hit her. She's still coming. But something has changed. The hit ruptures a fuel tank in Bismarck's bow, not critical, but leaking. Captain Ernst Lindemann calculates, at current speed, fuel consumption rate means they cannot reach the Atlantic hunting grounds and return to Germany. The mathematics are brutal. Lutyens makes the decision: abort Rheinübung. Make for Brest, occupied France, dry dock facilities, repairs. Prince Eugen separates to continue the mission alone. Bismarck turns southeast. In Prince of Wales's plotting room, radar operators lose contact. Bismarck has vanished into the North Atlantic's 4 million square mile hunting ground. For 21 hours, she's a ghost. The home fleet, battleships King George V and Rodney, carrier Ark Royal, multiple cruisers and destroyers, searches desperately. May 26, 10:30 a.m. RAF Coastal Command Catalina flying boat spots her. Co-pilot U.S. Navy Ensign Leonard Smith, technically neutral, illegally operational. He radios the position. Bismarck is still 270 nautical miles from Brest. Ark Royal is 120 miles behind her. Admiral Tovey calculates intercept times. It's going to be close.
Whitehall, London, Churchill's War Rooms. The Prime Minister reads the intercepts. Bismarck's course is confirmed, Brest. Once there, she'll be unreachable, protected by coastal batteries, Luftwaffe squadrons, and the entire Kriegsmarine infrastructure. The strategic calculus is existential. Britain imports 22 million tons of food and supplies annually, 90% by sea. Bismarck and her sister ship Tirpitz, still working up in Baltic waters, could cut that lifeline. Churchill's order is absolute. Every ship capable of steaming must engage. Admiral John Tovey in King George V reviews his assets. He's closing on Bismarck at 27 knots, but his fuel margins are razor thin. By dawn May 27, he'll reach gun range, assuming Bismarck doesn't reach air cover first. Rodney parallels his course. Heavy cruisers Norfolk and Dorsetshire converge from different vectors. But mathematics governs naval warfare, and the mathematics are grim. Bismarck's maximum speed, 30 knots. Current position to Brest, approximately 16 hours at current speed. British intercept, 18 to 20 hours. She'll win the race. Unless... Force H from Gibraltar, battlecruiser Renown, carrier Ark Royal, cruiser Sheffield, is the only force close enough. Vice Admiral James Somerville commands. At 19:10 May 26, he orders Ark Royal to launch. 15 swordfish. The weather is Force 8 moving to Force 9. Winds 50 miles per hour. Rain horizontal. Cloud base 200 feet. Squadron commanders protest. It's suicide. Somerville is unmoved. If those aircraft don't stop Bismarck tonight, we lose her forever. In Bletchley Park, codebreakers intercept German naval transmissions. Bismarck signals Berlin, "Ship unmaneuverable. We will fight to the last shell. Long live the Führer." Wait, unmaneuverable? The signal was sent after the swordfish attack. Something happened. Something critical. At 21:05 May 26, approximately 1 hour earlier, Bismarck's rudder locked 12 degrees to port. The Predator was crippled. Moffat's world shrinks to instruments and horizon. Altitude 48 feet. Airspeed 120 knots. The swordfish shudders as a shell burst throws a column of seawater across their path. Shrapnel punctures fabric. The wind screams through the holes. "Steady on," Miller's voice through the speaking tube. Bismarck's silhouette fills Moffat's vision. Her superstructure blazes with muzzle flashes. 37mm guns, 105mm guns, 15cm secondary batteries. The entire starboard side erupts fire. Tracer rounds draw glowing arcs through the rain. The noise is physical, a continuous roar, punctuated by the crack, crack, crack of proximity detonations. Telegraph operator Heyman in the rear cockpit swings his Lewis gun, firing short bursts at the battleship's superstructure. Pointless. Cathartic. "Range 1,200 yards, Miller calls. "Turning, turning, she's turning to port." Bismarck's massive hull pivots. Her wake, 30 knots worth, creates a curved scar in the black Atlantic. Moffat banks hard left. The swordfish groans. Canvas creaks.
He's overcorrecting, undershooting. The torpedo angle is wrong. Steady, steady now. Altitude 18 feet, 1,000 yards. Bismarck's stern fills the windscreen. Moffett sees men on her deck, sees gun crews swiveling 20mm cannons, sees the massive rudder assemblies churning water behind her counterstern. Miller hits the release. The torpedo drops. The swordfish lurches upward, suddenly 600 pounds lighter. Moffett yanks the stick, climbing, turning, diving, trying to present a moving target. A 105mm shell detonates 50 feet to port. The concussion throws them sideways. "Did we hit?" Heyman screams. "Can't see," Miller straining to look back through driving rain. Then a flash, different from the others, lower, near the waterline, stern section. 23 seconds after torpedo entry. Somewhere deep in Bismarck's steering compartment, the Mark 12's 388-pound Torpex warhead detonates against the port rudder coupling. The explosion tears steel. Everything changes.
The physics are merciless. Bismarck's steering system consists of twin rudders, port and starboard, each connected to separate hydraulic systems. Total weight of each assembly, approximately 15 tons. The rudders are mounted on the ship's extreme stern, an engineering compromise necessary to provide clearance for the centerline propeller shaft. This overhang creates structural vulnerability. The coupling connecting rudder to steering gear is precisely where Moffett's torpedo hits. The Mark 12 torpedo carries 388 pounds of Torpex, an explosive mixture 40% more powerful than TNT. At impact velocity, the shaped charge focuses detonation energy against a concentrated point. The explosion occurs approximately 12 feet below the waterline. The force travels through water, an incompressible medium, which amplifies the shockwave effect. The port rudder coupling shatters. Some sources indicate the rudder itself may have been blown off entirely. The starboard rudder, damaged but still attached, jams at 12 degrees port according to the rudder angle indicator on the bridge. Later analysis suggests the indicator may have been showing the position of destroyed mechanisms rather than the actual rudder. Hydraulic lines rupture. Steering compartment floods. Damage control teams, Obermaschinist and Mott Hans Brennecke leads them, wade through rising water trying to free the jammed mechanism. Impossible. The rudder won't respond to electrical commands or manual override. Captain Lindemann orders emergency maneuvers, alternate propeller power. Port engine full astern, starboard full ahead. In calm seas, this might generate minimal steering. In force 8 conditions with a jammed rudder fighting them, Bismarck enters an uncontrolled turn. She steams in massive circles toward her pursuers. Naval architects later identify a critical design flaw. The extended stern overhang, necessary for the 3-shaft arrangement, created inadequate buoyancy aft. When torpedoed, German ships with this design were prone to catastrophic stern failures. Prinz Eugen suffered identical damage February 1942. Cruiser Lützow lost her entire stern section the same way. One 18-inch torpedo. One vulnerable point. The unsinkable ship rendered helpless. Bismarck's crew knows. In the steering compartment, Brennecke's damage control team works in chest-deep water. The compartment reeks of seawater, fuel oil, and hot metal. Welding torches illuminate faces streaked with oil. They try everything: manual override, explosives to sever the jammed coupling, even discussions of diving under the stern to cut away damaged components. In these seas, in darkness, it's suicide. The intercom crackles. Bridge wants reports. Brennecke wipes his face. Nothing to report except failure. Above, on Bismarck's bridge, Admiral Lutyens and Captain Lindemann face reality. The ship steams toward King George V and Rodney, toward execution. At 23:40, Lutyens composes a final message to Naval High Command. "Ship unmaneuverable. We will fight to the last shell. Long live the Führer." In the enlisted berthing compartments, men write letters they know will never be mailed. Matrosengefreiter Herbert Blum, age 19, pens a note to his mother in Hamburg. Obermatrose Wilhelm Schmidt clutches a photograph of his wife and infant daughter. Some crew members gather in small groups, singing quietly. Others clean weapons with mechanical precision, because routine is what remains when hope is gone. Chief Gunnery Officer Korvettenkapitän Adalbert Schneider addresses his gun crews. "We hurt them first. Make them remember that." On HMS King George V, approaching through the night, Commander Charles Portal writes in his log, "All ships are to close on Bismarck at first light. Admiral Tovey's orders are explicit. Bismarck is to be sunk. No ship is to break off engagement until Bismarck sinks or we run out of fuel." In Ark Royal's ready room, John Moffat sits motionless. Dusty Miller has confirmed the hit. Moffat doesn't celebrate. He's 21 years old. He's just signed the death warrant for 2,000 men. The weight is incalculable. Naval High Command receives Lütjen's signal at 23:52, May 26th. Panic. Admiral Erich Raeder, Commander-in-Chief of the Kriegsmarine, immediately contacts Luftwaffe headquarters. Can bombers from Brest provide air cover? Negative. Bismarck is still beyond range, and British fighters from carriers will contest any approach. Can U-boats intercept British forces? U-556 obtained a perfect firing position on Ark Royal hours earlier, but had expended all torpedoes on previous operations. Other submarines are being vectored, but the Atlantic is vast, and Bismarck is circling unpredictably. There is no solution. Hitler is informed. His response is read over Bismarck's loudspeakers. "The whole of Germany is with you. What can still be done will be done. The performance of your duty will strengthen our people in the struggle for their existence." The crew understands. These are last rites, not hope. Through the night, British destroyers, 4th Destroyer Flotilla under Captain Philip Vian, maintain contact. HMS Maori, Zulu, Pioran, and Sich launch 16 torpedoes in repeated attacks. Bismarck's exhausted gun crews engage each approach. 0 hits. But the harassment prevents any repair attempts and grinds down crew stamina. At dawn, Tovey closes with overwhelming force. Battleships King George V, 10 14-inch guns, and Rodney, 9 16-inch guns. Cruisers Norfolk and Dorsetshire, destroyers, and Ark Royal maintaining distant observation. 0847, May 27. Range 25,000 yards. Rodney opens fire. Bismarck returns fire with her forward turrets, her only guns that can train on targets ahead. Her second salvo straddles Rodney, close. But Bismarck is wallowing, yawing, presenting an unstable firing platform. Each swell forces her rudder hard over, throwing off gunnery calculations. 0902. A 16-inch shell from Rodney strikes Bismarck's forward superstructure. The bridge explodes. Admiral Lütjens, Captain Lindemann, and most senior officers die instantly. Bismarck fights on. Automatic. Decentralized. Doomed. The bombardment lasts 100 minutes. King George V and Rodney fire 719 large-caliber shells. At ranges closing from 25,000 yards to 3,000 yards, they systematically destroy Bismarck's superstructure. Turrets are silenced one by one. Anton turret, 16-inch hit, penetrates faceplate. Bruno turret, hydraulics destroyed. Caesar turret, crew killed. By 0931, Bismarck is no longer returning fire. But she will not sink. The main armor belt, 12.6 inches of Krupp steel, resists penetration. Shells devastate everything above the waterline, but the citadel holds. At 10:15, Tovey, critically low on fuel, orders HMS Dorsetshire to finish her with torpedoes.
Dorsetshire closes to 2,000 yards, fires 3 torpedoes. All hit. Bismarck lists heavily to port. Smoke pours from 100 wounds. Survivors later claimed they detonated scuttling charges to prevent capture. Technical analysis suggests accumulated damage would have sunk her regardless. The debate continues. At 10:39, May 27, 1941, Bismarck's stern rises. She rolls to port and slides beneath the Atlantic approximately 400 miles west of Brest. Dorsetshire and Maori begin rescue operations. 110 survivors are pulled from the water. Then, U-boat sighting. Real or imagined, it doesn't matter. The destroyers flee. Hundreds of German sailors remain in the water. U-boat U-74 and weather ship Saxonwald rescue 5 more. The rest die of hypothermia. Final toll, over 2,000 lost. John Moffat returned to civilian life in 1946. He trained as a hotel manager. At age 60, he resumed flying. On his 90th birthday, he performed aerobatics in a light aircraft. He wrote his memoir reluctantly, disliking the title, I Sank the Bismarck. He insisted. It was the squadron, not him. He died December 11, 2016, age 97. The Swordfish continued service until 1945, outlasting the aircraft designed to replace it. Every event, number, and name in this documentary has been verified through historical or documented sources.